I was diagnosed on a Tuesday. It was raining, and the waiting room smelled like antiseptic and old magazines. I remember how the fluorescent light above me flickered just once when Dr. Cheng walked in, her face too calm, too careful. "Hannah, the biopsy results came back," she said softly. "It's lymphoma, stage 2. I didn't cry. Not then. I nodded, asked the usual questions. Chemo? Prognosis? What now? I didn't cry until I got into my car. And I didn't tell anyone for 2 weeks. Not because I didn't trust them, but because I already knew how it would go. I was the strong one in the family, the responsible one. The boring middle child sandwiched between my golden older sister Olivia and our baby brother Dean, who had never worked a day in his life and somehow had an Apple Watch and a new tattoo every time I visited home. I was the one who stayed behind, to help Mom when Dad passed, the one who drove Olivia to appointments when she was pregnant, the one who Venmo'd Mom half her rent when the mortgage went up. No one ever worried about me. So when I finally told them about the cancer, their first reaction wasn't shock. It was confusion. "You're sure?" Olivia asked, blinking. "You don't even look sick." The fundraising idea came from Olivia, ironically. "You shouldn't have to worry about money right now," she said. "We'll help. We'll make a GoFundMe." She was always polished, always rehearsed. Her Instagram was a curated gallery of family smiles, outfit breakdowns, and momfluencer deals. She even had a wedding planner she hadn't fired yet, even though the honeymoon had already happened a year ago. I didn't ask for help. But I didn't stop her. A week later, the fundraiser was live, complete with an emotional caption and a photo of me in the hospital bed she'd taken without asking. "Help our Hannah fight lymphoma," it read. In less than 10 days, it raised $61,400. I only saw $4,500 of it. Olivia said the rest was being managed for me, carefully allocated into a savings account. She was temporarily overseeing because I wasn't in the mental space to handle it all. At first, I believed her. I had bigger things to worry about. My hair started falling out. The nausea hit like waves, random and cruel. I couldn't keep my weight stable. My fingertips were always cold, and sleep became something I begged for like a drug. Then one day, between chemo cycles, I was scrolling on my phone and saw Olivia's story. A suite overlooking the ocean. A champagne tray. Rose petals on a California king bed. Anniversary redo. Thank you to my favorite human on this planet. Maui nights. Finally, us again. I stared at the screen for a long time, and then I remembered something she said weeks ago. We never got a proper honeymoon, remember? Between the baby and Dad's funeral, we kind of just skipped it. One day, right? I called her. No answer. I texted. No reply. Then Mom called me. "You're being really dramatic, Hannah," she said. "It's just a little break. Olivia's been under stress too, you know. You're not the only one going through something." My stomach twisted. "Did they use the fundraiser money?" I asked. My voice was shaking. There was a long silence. Then Mom said, "You should be grateful they've done so much already." That night, I threw up. Not from chemo, from betrayal. They'd taken money people gave to help me live and spent it on tiki drinks and ocean views, and now they were painting me as the selfish one. But they'd forgotten one thing. I still had the fundraiser login, and I knew exactly how to pull the receipts. The GoFundMe account was still tied to my email. Olivia had set it up, yes, But she used my name, my story, and most importantly, my recovery as the campaign's heart. She just assumed I'd never log in. She forgot I wasn't dead yet. I hadn't touched the dashboard since the first week. I remember logging in, tears in my eyes, grateful and overwhelmed. I had no idea what the future held, but at least I could afford treatment. That hope had aged like milk. Now, staring at the screen, I opened the GoFundMe page again. The numbers hadn't changed much since that $61,000 total had landed. What had changed were the withdrawal logs, line after line, transfer after transfer. Most of it had gone to a shared account, one tied to an email address with both Olivia's name and her husband's. The dates didn't lie either. $9,000 on the day they booked the flights to Maui, $300, the same day she posted a spa photo, $2,800 the morning after the Sunset Dinner Cruise story, $10,000 lump sum labeled Home Needs. A week after their trip ended, only $4,500 had ever landed in my account. They hadn't just stolen from me. They'd stolen from everyone who clicked donate with tears in their eyes. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, sick, humiliated, and furious. My IV bag beeped. My body felt like paper and ash. And the anger kept me alive. They'd robbed me of dignity and stolen strangers' compassion to fund their romance. And now I was the ungrateful one? The next morning, I contacted GoFundMe support. I believe funds from my campaign have been misused. I can provide proof of identity and documentation. They responded faster than I expected. GoFundMe asked for A. Copy of my ID medical documents confirming my diagnosis, bank statements showing limited deposits. I sent it all. Within 2 days, I had a case number and a very interested fraud team. Meanwhile, Olivia still hadn't called, but she had posted. She was back home. There was a new highlight reel on her Instagram. Healing vibes, only. It featured yoga, mats, smoothies, and a caption about letting go of negative energy. The irony nearly killed me. Later that week, Mom showed up at my apartment. Not out of love. No. She wanted to know why Olivia's GoFundMe had been frozen. You had no right, she snapped. There are legal implications when you accuse family of theft, Hannah. I stared at her. My friends gave money so I could fight to live, I said quietly. Your daughter took it for a fuxing vacation, and you're worried about her reputation? She didn't flinch. Olivia said you were going to turn this into drama, that you've always been jealous of her. I laughed. I actually laughed. I didn't want a baby, or a beach wedding. I wanted to walk without pain. I wanted to keep my hair. I wanted to live. Was that too much? After she left, I went back to the GoFundMe page. I drafted a new update. I didn't hit publish. Not yet. But I stared at it for a long time. To everyone who donated to help me recover, I need to tell you the truth about where your money really went. I have the receipts, and I think you deserve to see them. The truth was coming, and this time, they wouldn't be able to block or spin it, not when I had the whole internet watching. I didn't post the fundraiser update right away. I told myself I needed more energy, more strength. The truth? I needed a little more time to stop shaking. Because once I posted it, there'd be no going back. The world would see what they did, and my family would never forgive me for surviving loudly. 3 days passed. Olivia texted once. Olivia. Mom said you're stirring things. I'm done enabling this pity party. Grow up. Enabling? I whispered to myself, rereading it as if she'd ever been the one suffering. I opened my laptop, opened the GoFundMe dashboard, typed, "Hi everyone, this is Hannah. First, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your belief in me. I wanted to update you not just on my health, but also on what's been happening behind the scenes, because you deserve transparency. Of the 61,000 pluses raised, I received $4,500 total. The rest was withdrawn by my sister and her husband and used for non-medical purposes, including a luxury honeymoon in Maui, spa packages, and home renovations. I have screenshots, receipts, and bank logs. I've submitted everything to GoFundMe for investigation. This was not a misunderstanding. It was betrayal. This campaign was started to help me live. Instead, it became their escape fund. I'm still fighting for my life, but I won't let your generosity be exploited in silence. I'm telling the truth because it matters and because I won't be erased." Then I added 4 screenshots. One of the fundraiser dashboard withdrawals, a screenshot of Olivia's Maui Nights story, a copy of the bank statement with the matching transfer, and a selfie of me, IV in arm, with the caption, "Still here. Still fighting." Took a deep breath. Then I hit post update. It went viral in 6 hours. The comments started slow. "I'm so sorry this happened to you. Thank you for speaking up. I donated. I feel sick. Please sue her." "No way. I follow Olivia on Instagram. Is this real?" "That's your sister? She posted a haul video from Maui 2 weeks ago." Then the Instagram sleuths got involved. They began cross-referencing dates from Olivia's stories with the GoFundMe withdrawal logs I posted. A Reddit thread popped up titled, "Momfluencer Scams Sister's Cancer Fund," while she's still in chemo. People dug deeper. They found the baby shower video where Olivia thanked everyone for supporting us during a hard year. They found her husband's post about investing in family property. They even dug up a deleted Facebook comment from a family friend that said, "Hannah didn't even come to Olivia's shower. Some people only care about themselves." I watched the likes pile up on that one. It was surreal. They'd spent a year painting me as distant, dramatic, selfish, but now the internet was undoing the story they wrote about me. That evening, I got a call. "Private number." I answered. It was Olivia. "You really posted that?" she hissed. "Are you trying to ruin me?" I stayed silent. People are messaging my sponsors. My inbox is full of death threats. "Do you know what you've done?" I told the truth. I said quietly. "You think this makes you some kind of hero?" she snapped. Then, the words that made my blood run cold. "You're lucky we let you have that money at all. Mom said we should have kept it. You just lay around all day anyway." I hung up. Then I added one final update. "Thank you all for your support. To the people saying I should keep family business private, please understand. They made it public the moment they used my illness as their brand story. This isn't just about the money. It's about dignity. And I'm not hiding anymore." That post crossed 100,000 views in 24 hours. Sponsors dropped Olivia. The GoFundMe team locked the account permanently, and Olivia's Instagram was set to private. But this wasn't over. They still had the money, and now I had a lawyer. The first time I met with the lawyer, I was still wearing a beanie to cover my thinning hair. Her name was Jordan Ellis. She looked too young to be as sharp as she was. But the moment I showed her the GoFundMe withdrawal logs and matching screenshots of Olivia's Instagram, she looked up at me and said, "This isn't just unethical, it's fraud, and we can build a case around it." I hadn't planned on going. To court. But Olivia's call kept echoing in my head. You're lucky we let you have that money at all. As if surviving was some favor they handed down. As if I hadn't already bled enough. Jordan moved fast. Within 2 weeks, she filed a formal civil complaint for conversion, breach of fiduciary duty, and fraud. The amount? $5,900 plus punitive damages. The paperwork was served on a quiet Tuesday morning. Olivia didn't respond directly, but that same night her husband posted a vague black background Instagram story. Some people will do anything for attention, even sue their own family. The next day, I received a new text from Mom. Mom, you're making things worse. Olivia is stressed. The kids can feel it. This isn't what Dad would have wanted. No mention of me, of what I had been through. No, how are you feeling? Just another reminder that peace in this family always meant my silence. I didn't respond to her. Instead, I started gathering more evidence. It was almost comical how easy it was. Screenshots, posts, comments, email receipts, even Olivia's own words in group texts. We'll just say we spent some of it on travel therapy. She'll be too tired to fight anyway. I handed it all over to Jordan. She smiled. This isn't just about you anymore, she said. It's about making sure this doesn't happen to the next person who needs help. The internet hadn't forgotten either. The Reddit thread exploded again when someone posted a side-by-side, my GoFundMe medical update. Olivia's deleted haul video caption, Maui vibes on a budget, $10K and worth every penny, more. People started coming forward. Someone anonymously messaged me. I donated $500 to your campaign. Olivia sent me a thank you note with her family photo. Another person claimed they'd reached out to Olivia asking how I was doing, and Olivia responded, She's too tired to talk. Keep us in your prayers. Us. As if her trip to Hawaii had been a team effort in survival. Then came the court hearing notification. Jordan looked me in the eye before we walked in and asked, You sure you want to face her? I nodded. Because I wanted her to see me. I wanted her to look into the face of the person she stole from. The person she thought was too weak to fight back. The courtroom wasn't dramatic, just cold, neutral tones and a few rows of seats. Olivia walked in holding her husband's hand, wearing beige and sunglasses like she was trying to blend into the wall. She didn't look at me. When the judge asked if I had anything to say before we began, I stood slowly, walked to the front, and said, I was fighting for my life when they were sipping champagne. I had poison in my veins while they were flying, first class, and they used my illness like a brand. All I asked for was help. What I got was theft in a pretty package. For the first time in months, Olivia looked like she wasn't sure how to pose. And for the first time in my life, I felt powerful. Olivia was always a performer. She knew how to control a room, whether it was a baby shower, a backyard brunch, or a camera phone on selfie mode. But court wasn't her stage. Here, there were no soft filters, no likes, no curated captions, just truth, evidence, and a judge with no patience for theatrics. And Olivia? She was unraveling. Her lawyer tried to argue that the fundraiser wasn't legally binding, that the funds were distributed informally within the family, that it was all just a well-intentioned misunderstanding. Jordan stood, calm, collected, ruthless. She laid out the fundraiser's stated purpose: medical expenses for Hannah's cancer treatment, the withdrawal history, 92% removed by Olivia and her husband. Social media proof of luxury spending within hours of those withdrawals. Bank statements showing those funds never touched a medical provider. Then she showed the group text, the one where Olivia joked, "She's too sick to notice anyway." The room went silent. Olivia's hands were folded in her lap, her jaw locked tight. She tried to look small, but her husband couldn't help himself. He blurted out, "We did a lot for her. She never even thanked us." That was when the judge leaned forward. "You believe a cancer patient who received less than $5,000 from over $60,000 raised in her name should have been more grateful?" Even Olivia flinched. Outside the courtroom, the world kept watching. Story had hit TikTok's For You page now. Someone had done a dramatic voiceover reading of my fundraiser post. Another stitched it with a breakdown of influencer scams. One creator dubbed it the most vile sister story on the internet. And suddenly, everyone was weighing in. She used cancer money for a honeymoon? No way, no way. I've never been this mad on the internet. Tag the husband. Don't let him hide behind her. Olivia's brand was falling apart in real time. Sponsors dropped her. She shut down her DMs. And then, quietly, her account vanished. But the most satisfying moment came later that week. I was resting, still weak, still tired, when Jordan called. She sounded like she was smiling. "We won. They're being ordered to repay the full $56,900 within 60 days. And you've been awarded an additional $25,000 in damages for emotional distress and reputational harm." I sat in stunned silence, not because of the number, but because for the first time since diagnosis, I finally felt like someone believed me, not pitied me, not doubted me, not dismissed me, believed. That evening, I posted one last update to the fundraiser. Justice has been served. The funds will go where they were always meant to help me survive, and to help others in my situation find their voice. To everyone who stood by me, strangers, friends, nurses, even people I'll never meet, thank you. And to the people who stole from me, you didn't just lose the money. You lost the story you tried to control. But the story wasn't over. Not until Olivia knocked on my door. I didn't know what surprised me more, that she came without her husband, or that she had the nerve to show up at all. The doorbell rang at 8:12 p.m. I was still in my robe. A heating, pad tucked behind my back, a mug of chamomile cooling beside me. The last thing I expected to see on the other side of my door was Olivia. No makeup, puffy eyes, dressed in a hoodie that wasn't hers. For a second, we both just stared. "Hannah," she said softly, voice strained, "can we talk?" I didn't move, but I didn't close the door either. She stepped inside like she'd done it 100 times before. Like this was still her world, and I was still the shadow orbiting it. But this time, I stayed quiet. I watched her pace around my small living room, eyes flicking over the books I'd stacked by the couch, the framed photo of me and Dad still sitting on the windowsill. "You humiliated me," she said finally, arms crossed. That was her opener. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "I was wrong." Just that. I tilted my head. "You stole from a cancer fund," I said. "You humiliated yourself." She flinched. A crack. Finally. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "You didn't mean to get caught." She turned, tears rising now, but not the kind that come from guilt. These were tears of someone who lost control of their own narrative. "Everything's ruined," she whispered. "Sponsors, partnerships. I'm being called a monster online. People I worked with for years have dropped me. I have nothing." "You have a husband," I said. "A house. 2 kids. A clean bill of health." She looked at me then. Finally looked at me. Really looked. Saw the pale skin, the port in my chest, the fatigue in my eyes that never quite went away. Her lips parted, but she said nothing. "You came here to say sorry," I said flatly. "Not for me, for you." "That's not true." "It is," I cut her off. "You're sorry you lost the audience, that the mask slipped, that people finally saw who you really are." There was a long silence. Then she broke. "I didn't think you'd live long enough to care," she whispered. That stunned me. Not because I didn't already suspect it, but because she actually said it out loud. I sat down slowly, chest tight. And yet, here I am. She dropped to the edge of the chair across from me, wiping her face. "I don't know who I am anymore." "You're the woman who used her sister's illness to get a vacation," I said coldly. "You're the woman who stood next to me while I was puking up chemo and whispered to her husband that it's all just temporary drama." "I know," she whispered. "I know what I did." "Do you?" I leaned forward. "Do you know how it felt to sit in a cold hospital bed, wondering why the fundraiser had gone quiet, why people stopped messaging me? It's because you took their kindness and spent it like it was yours." "I was scared," she said. "I was dying." The room was so quiet I could hear her breath hitch. "You don't forgive me?" she said after a while. "No," I said. "I don't." "Will you ever?" I shook my head slowly. "This isn't about you anymore, Olivia. It never was." She nodded once, like she'd been waiting for that sentence. Then she stood, walked to the door, and paused with her hand on the handle. "I hope one day you'll heal enough to—" "You hope a lot of things," I said. "But healing doesn't mean forgetting." She didn't say goodbye. She just walked out. I locked the door, turned off the lights, and cried. Not for her, not even for the money. I cried because I finally meant every word I said. Because I wasn't silent anymore. Because the little sister who once whispered apologies into her pillow, she was gone. Life didn't snap back into place. It never does after cancer, after betrayal, after you've dragged your own sister into a courtroom for stealing the money meant to keep you alive. There was no parade, no big, and she lived happily ever after. But, slowly, quietly, I began to feel human again. My hair started to grow back in stubborn little patches. I could walk around the block without needing to sit down every 5 minutes. I laughed again. Real laughs. Not the hollow kind people force. When they're trying not to cry, I still had bad days. Some nights, the nightmares crept in. Memories of beeping monitors, pitying stares, Olivia's voice saying, "You're lucky we let you have that money at all." But I'd built something stronger now. Boundaries. Pride. A spine. Then one morning, my phone buzzed with a notification. GoFundMe message request. "Hi, Hannah. I just read your story." I expected sympathy. Maybe another stranger saying, "I'm so sorry this happened to you." But it wasn't that. It was from a woman named Danielle V. She said she'd been through something similar. Her mother-in-law had used her cancer diagnosis to start a fundraiser, then pocketed most of it while pretending to be her caregiver. Your story gave me the courage to file a claim. I've been quiet for years, but I'm done hiding. Thank you for being loud. Then another message came. And another. People I didn't know. People I'd never meet. But they were finding their voice through mine. I cried for a long time that day, because this wasn't just revenge anymore. This was something bigger. 3 weeks later, I started a blog. Still here. Stories from survivors who were silenced. Opened with my story. Shared the court case, the screenshots, the fundraiser timeline. Then I invited others to submit their own. Within a month, I had over 200 submissions. Cancer patients whose partners had stolen their fundraiser money, parents, whose kids were used for sympathy cash students, whose tuition funds disappeared into family vacations. They'd all been called selfish, dramatic, ungrateful, just like me, but not anymore. Then came an email I never expected. It was from a journalist. She worked with a major documentary platform. Said she was following my case, had watched how it went viral, and believed it was the tip of the iceberg. We're building a feature on digital fundraising fraud, she wrote. We'd like you to be the opening story. I stared at the screen, heart thumping. Not from fear, from fire. Because Olivia had stolen my money, my privacy, and tried to steal my voice. But now, she'd accidentally handed me a microphone, and I wasn't about to put it down. The documentary launched on a Thursday. I wasn't in a hospital bed anymore. I wasn't shivering through nausea or counting my own eyelashes on the pillow. I wasn't holding my breath, waiting for someone to care. I was in a studio, in front of a camera crew, makeup lightly dusted on, voice calm and certain. The title of the episode, Surviving the Illness, wasn't the hardest part. They let me tell it all. Not just the fraud, the lawsuit, the internet storm, but the silence that came before it. How long I bit my tongue in the name of family. How betrayal doesn't always scream. It whispers in backhanded compliments and carefully crafted lies. I didn't cry on camera. But after they called cut, the producer hugged me and whispered, "You're going to help more people than you'll ever know." By the time the episode aired, the blog had grown into a network. We weren't just telling stories anymore. We were fighting back. We created guides on how to protect yourself when someone else sets up a fundraiser in your name. We helped people flag suspicious campaigns. We connected victims to legal aid, therapists, advocacy groups, and every week I got new emails. Your story gave me the courage to speak up. My sister did the same thing. I thought I was alone. I used to be ashamed, but now I know better. I kept every one of those emails in a folder, labeled Proof. Olivia? She never responded publicly again. Her social account stayed dark. Her husband deleted his profiles. Their apology never came. Not to me, not to the people who donated, not to the truth. But I no longer needed it, because silence was their only card left, and I'd already taken the deck. My health didn't magically fix itself. I still had scars, still had fatigue, still had checkups and uncertainty, but I also had myself, whole, unapologetic. Not their version of me, the one who was always too emotional, too sensitive, too much. No. Now I was too strong, too loud, too aware. Months later, I got a letter. It was handwritten, in uneven cursive, from someone named Clara in Michigan. She said her daughter's Make-A-Wish fundraiser had been emptied by the girl's own aunt. She said the police shrugged. The family cut her off. She felt like she was screaming underwater. But then she saw my face in the documentary. I printed out your quote and taped it to my fridge, she wrote. It says, "The real fight begins after the hospital, and you're allowed to win that one too. Thank you for being brave first." I held that letter against my chest for a long time, because that's what this story became. Not revenge, not exposure, but freedom. To anyone reading this, feeling voiceless, forgotten, or dismissed. To anyone who's been told to let it go when something unforgivable happened. To anyone who knows the sting of betrayal hidden behind a smile, let this be your reminder. You are not ungrateful for demanding justice. You are not dramatic for naming what they did. And you are not wrong for surviving in full volume. Because I survived everything they did to me. And then I told the world. And the world listened.